Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Allen Hour. We have a lot to get to. The Giants fall to the Green Bay Packers 27-20 at home, and I just got home actually from the game myself. And so we're going to deep dive into this, break down the game, and I'm just going to give all my thoughts, my immediate reactions to what I saw at MetLife Stadium today with Jameis Winston and with everything going on with the New York Giants. Mike Kafka, his debut as interim head coach, a lot of moving pieces today in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Giants fall to 2-9, but let's get into it. Again, another loss. Here we are, 2-9 on the season. And the season has already been lost. So I'm not even going to sit here and say another lost season because, quite frankly, it's been over for quite some time now. No Jackson Dart today. I decided to go to the game today. I had a buddy of mine who is a Packers fan and kind of a late development earlier today, but we decided to go. Tickets weren't too outrageous price wise, and so decided to go. And I had a good time, all things considered. I knew what I was getting into with Jameis Winston, and I knew that he would be prone to turnovers potentially, or maybe a 4 touchdown game. And I thought it could be fun to go to today's game. It's rare that I have a Sunday off from work, so I went, enjoyed myself. Obviously, not the outcome we're looking for as a Giants fan. Again, final score 27-20. We'll run through the box score numbers. Jameis Winston for the Giants starting today, 19 of 29. Again, this is his season debut for the G-men. 19 of 29 passing, 201 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. He was sacked twice. Tyrone Tracy led the way rushing for the New York Giants, 19 carries, 88 yards, no touchdowns, 4.6 yards per carry. Devin Singletary, who was kind of the goal line back in a lot of those opportunities today, 16 carries, 44 yards, and 2 scores. Jameis Winston, 3 carries, 10 touchdowns, and that QB sneak late into the game, which we will get to later on in the breakdown. Isaiah Hodgins, welcome back to New York, my friend. He led the way for the G-men, 5 catches, 57 yards, no touchdowns. Tyrone Tracy also had 4 catches, 51 yards. Theo Johnson, 3 catches, 36 yards. He had a couple nice long catches to keep drives alive on third downs. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 catches, 36 yards. Jalen Hyatt, I don't even want to say his name, but we will get to him later on. Don't you worry, folks. 2 catches, 18 yards. Devin Singletary, a catch for 3 yards. And Daniel Bellinger, no catches on 1 target. Jameis Winston also had a fumble late in the game. That was on the last play of the game, what was for the Giants with 10 seconds left. So I don't really look at that as a true fumble. And then for the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, who left this game for a little bit during the second quarter. So Malik Willis had some time in there at quarterback, but Jordan Love, 13 of 24, 174 yards, 2 scores, and no interceptions. He was sacked twice. Malik Willis, in that brief moment I just mentioned, 2 for 2 passing, 6 yards, and a touchdown. Leading the way for Green Bay, Josh Jacobs left this game early, did not return. He has a knee injury. Emmanuel Wilson was the one tasked with the majority of the workload when he was out. So 11 carries, 40 yards, and a score for him. Jacobs, before getting hurt, 7 carries, 40 yards for him. Bo Melton, shout out Rutgers, had a jet sweep earlier in the game, 1 carry for 17 yards. Malik Willis had a carry for 16. And then receiving wise, Romeo Doubs, 4 catches, 53 yards. Christian Watson had a big day, 4 catches, 46 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One of the more impressive catches I've seen late in that game to give the Packers the lead late in the game. Savion Williams had a humongous catch for 33 yards. We'll get into that whole drive later on. Matthew Golden, 1 catch, 24 yards, and then a couple guys with just 1 catch, for under 10 yards. So the Giants were able to get a couple of fumbles on the ground for Green Bay, but none of them were recovered by the Giants. And again, the Giants allowed 2 sacks, so did Green Bay. So relatively, looking just at the stats, a pretty even game. If you're a box score watcher and you don't have time to watch the games, you want to get filled in. Pretty even game, you would think. That would be your conclusion. The Giants had an opening drive touchdown and looked pretty good from there. So let's get into kind of how this game unfolded throughout. Again, I mentioned that opening drive touchdown. Devin Singletary, 5-yard score. But the one thing that I was really impressed with was Jameis Winston early on, able to complete 2 20-yard passes to Wan'Dale and to Isaiah Hodgins on that opening drive just to move things along. And the Giants able to go on the board up 7-0 on the first play of the game. Then offensively, the Packers on their first drive have to punt. The Giants defense forces the Packers to punt. on the first drive of the game. And this is something that I want to get into too with the Giants defense. Very inconsistent outing. I know a lot of people online calling for Shane Bowen's job, another fourth quarter lead blown. What gets it from me is just its inconsistency. And the fourth quarter blown leads are very consistent, don't get me wrong, but it's just you see these flashes throughout the game where the defense looks good. It looks like the pass rush is getting home, right? They have a couple of sacks here and there, but then also with that, it's like they're not finishing a lot of those plays. They're getting in on the quarterback and not bringing him down. Then some plays they're not getting to Jordan Love in this case, and he has 8 seconds to throw back there. And so you just get this yin and yang where you never have it one way. It's multiple ways throughout the entirety of the game, and it's frustrating as a Giants fan. It really is, having to watch it. You get excited, a huge moment in the game happens, defense makes a big tackle, next play happens, oh, there's a flag. Or, Jordan Love 8 seconds to throw, and he's able to launch it down the field and get a big completion to keep a drive alive. It's so inconsistent. And unfortunately for the Giants, as I said, the only consistent thing is that they continue to blow leads late in games, specifically in the fourth quarters. And today was no different. Leading this game 20-19, albeit a 1-point lead. A lead is a lead. And they blew it. Packers score late. They get themselves a touchdown, the 2-point conversion. They go up 7. And the Giants had their chance late in this game. But I can't really blame Jameis Winston. Some of my immediate thoughts, too. I thought Jameis played well. I really did. I thought he, again, showed a lot on that first drive with those 2 20-yard throws to Wandale and to Isaiah Hodgins. But I also think that he just looked in command of this game, despite a couple of throws that should have been intercepted. I will acknowledge those throws. And maybe if those are interceptions, I'm sitting here saying something completely different about Jameis Winston. But at the end of the day, they were not intercepted. And that's on the Packers. They give the Giants extra chances. And Jameis Winston, I felt, took advantage and put together some really strong drives in this game. And the interception at the end of the game in the end zone, when as the Giants were going in to try and tie this game up, you got to blame that on Jalen Hyatt. Drew Brees said it himself on the broadcast, and every fan on Twitter had the same conclusion. Now, for me, it was difficult to see in person because you're not really paying attention to Jalen Hyatt and his route running. You're kind of watching Jameis Winston and then waiting for him to throw, right? And then you kind of react to where the ball is going. And from my perspective, you're watching Jameis back there and commanding the pocket. You see the ball thrown, and you just see the ball going right into a Packer defender's hands. In this case, it was Williams for the Packers. And you're just sitting there going, wow, what an awful throw. But it took me about an hour or so after that on the train ride back. I'm going through Twitter. I'm getting caught up on a lot of Giant Twitter, and I see people reposting other angles of the play. And I'm looking, and I see Jalen Hyatt just stopped running on a corner route that apparently had an option, according to Amani Toomer on the Giant postgame show on MSG Networks, I believe. He was saying that it's the first time he's ever seen a receiver choose the option route on a corner route like that, and kind of stop mid route and choose the option part of it. It's the first time he's ever seen it, and that's a Giant legend, and I take his word for it, right? I mean, so the fact that Jalen Hyatt doesn't fully run the route, I can't blame that on Jameis Winston whatsoever. And I hope this is Jalen Hyatt's last game as a New York Giant. I give Kafka credit for trying to incorporate him into this game today, because that's one of the many faults of Joe Shane, trading up into the third round and getting him. And they tried. He just continues to make mistakes, and he's unplayable. And so from here on out, I hope he doesn't play. I hope he's done with the New York Giants. And I really hope that John Mara and company look at that draft pick from Joe Shane and really hold him accountable for that. And this is one of the reasons why I felt it was the right decision to move on from Joe Shane in the end. And we'll see if that's what they do, but it's not looking like that's the way that the Giants are going to go. So obviously I don't agree with that decision, but I did feel like Jameis, to get back to the game today, I did feel like Jameis played a good enough game today to win this game. The running game was really, really good, and tied to that, the offensive line play, I thought that was really, really well done. I thought the offensive line gave Jameis a ton of time. One of the sacks that they surrendered was when Jameis was really trying to buy time and he fumbled at the end of the game. So if you take that out, it's 1 sack. I really thought they did a good job up front. The run game looked really, really good. There were a lot of second and longs where, as a fan, you obviously want them to pass because running on second down, for me at least, gets repetitive. And when you only get a couple of yards and it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, and you're living in there, it's kind of not the best situation. But today, the Giants were able to figure something out and turn those 2nd and 8s into 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 3s, and make those third downs more convertible. So I was over the course of the game, I was more receptive to running the football. I saw that they found something in that and they were able to exploit the Packers defensively, and it was working. Again, as I mentioned with the box score, Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy had a tremendous workload today. 19 carries, 88 yards for Tracy, 16 carries, 44 yards for Singletary, and he had 2 touchdowns. Combined, it's 142 on the ground, 3 touchdowns. So I thought it was a very good day on the ground from the Giants specifically. I thought Isaiah Hodgins looked good in his return for 5 catches, 57 yards. I liked how they used Tyrone Tracy on the screens, 4 catches for 51 yards. It certainly helped Winston get the ball out. And in a lot of those longer downs, distance-wise, 2nd and longs, 3rd and longs, they threw the screen passes to Tracy, and it worked. His longest was a 20-yard catch out of those 51 yards. So the screens worked today, and I really thought that the Giants played well enough to win this game offensively. The issue, again, just lies defensively. Not making enough stops, not making the key stop, and it all comes down to that final drive. Giants winning the game 20-19, and they have the Green Bay Packers on the ropes. They have them on the ropes. This is in the 4th quarter with just over 7 minutes left in the game. The Packers get the ball back, right? They're on their own 35 to start things. First play was a 9-yard pass to Emmanuel Wilson, then a 3-yard run for Wilson, so 1st and 10. Incompletion to Daubs, incompletion to Golden, and now you have 3rd and 10. And this is the difference of the game. This was the play of the game that kept the Packers alive and ultimately won them the game in the end. 3rd and 10 from their own 47. 5:56 left in this game. Giants up 1 point. And this goes back to my point about the defensive line and that pass rush just not getting home and not finishing plays, and it just being so aggravating because of how inconsistent it's been this season. When you read it over the box score and over the plays of the game, it says Jordan Love passes deep to Savion Williams to the Giants 20 for 33 yards. But you watch that play, he must have had 8 seconds to throw the damn ball. He could have sat down on the ground, crisscrossed applesauce, and gave that defensive line 5 seconds, stood up, and still completed that pass. I mean, that's how much time he had back there. He could have turned around and faced the opposite end zone for 2 seconds and then turned back around. It was unbelievable. And you got to give Williams some credit. He made a heck of a catch down the field. Cordell Flott was right there. I mean, it was good coverage. The fact that that ball was still in his hands 8 seconds into that after the snap tells you the coverage was good, or at least he didn't see anything. So it's on the pass rush, and these are the guys making the most money. You think of Dexter Lawrence, think of Brian Burns, and to Burns' credit, he had 2 sacks today. And I understand they didn't have Kayvon Thibodeau, but you got to get home. You still have Abdul Carter, and we'll get to him in a moment. If you realized back home watching that he was not on the first drive defensively, no, you weren't wrong. Your eyes didn't deceive you. And Mike Kafka had some comments, and Abdul Carter has some comments on that. We'll get into that later. But you have all these guys that I still think are good enough to rush the quarterback without Kayvon Thibodeau. And that was the play of the game. 33-yard pass to Savion Williams down the field. Put them in prime position, down 1, to at the very least get a field goal to take the lead or get a touchdown like they did and make the lead even bigger and make it even more difficult for the Giants to come back and possibly win this game. So now after that 33-yard pass, 1st and 10 at the Giant 20, Wilson ran the ball, but the Packers got called for an offensive holding penalty. So after giving up a big play, the Giants get a break, right? Offensive holding penalty. Now it's 1st and 20 at the Giants 30, so further from the end zone. And with today's conditions, field goals were not a given from that far out. So you're in a prime position to potentially say, hey, we gave up that big play, but let's now refocus and let's get off the field here, or just give up a long field goal attempt to make up for that, and we can live with that because there's still 5 minutes left in this game at this point. A lot of time to just get a field goal. But what do the Giants defensively do? Well, let's see. 1st and 10, or 1st and 20 from the Giants 30, 13-yard pass, Jordan Love to Daubs to the Giants 17. So they get that holding penalty back and gain 3 yards extra. So essentially, it was just a 3-yard run. on first down. So now it's 2nd and 7. And then you get the Christian Watson 17-yard touchdown pass, which, listen, you can't really blame the coverage, in my opinion. That was just a beautiful throw, beautiful catch. It was a thing of beauty. And you have to tip your cap to those guys for making that play, for executing. But again, the Giants put themselves in that position, and the Packers capitalize. And it's simple as that. Then they go out and they get the 2-point conversion, and they take a 7-point lead. And we already talked about the Jalen Hyatt mishap on that final drive. But again, back to my point on Jameis Winston, I thought he had a good game, and I thought on that final drive, he did a great job leading them down the field. 5-yard pass, 11-yard pass, 7-yard pass. And again, the run game was very efficient as well. 17-yard run, 7-yard run, 4-yard run. Put them on the Packers' 14-yard line. 14-yard line with 40 seconds left in this game, down 7 points. 3rd and 6. So they had 2 plays. They throw the ball to the end zone, and Jalen Hyatt doesn't run the route, stops running, and it's an interception, and the game is over. And that was it. That's how the Packers won this game. They advanced to 6-3-1. The Giants fall to 2-9. Yet again, another game the Giants had a chance to win this game, had a lead heading into the fourth quarter, or had a lead into the fourth quarter, I should say, and they were unable to hold it, and they still find a way to choke it, and they lose. Shane Bowen should be out of a job by season's end. If they don't fire him at some point this season, it will definitely be at the season end. That is for sure, because this is unacceptable. The amount of second half chokes, the amount of fourth quarter chokes, it's just unbelievable at this point. Between the Dallas game, between the Broncos game, between today, it just happens way too much. Way too much. And between last week against the Bears, something needs to change with this defense. And again, I do fault a lot of the players for just not producing today. Brian Burns has been the only guy on this pass rush to really do anything this year in terms of coming up with sacks. QB hits, QB hurries, all those things are great. But if you can't bring the guy down and he's out there running around and gets another 3 seconds to throw the ball, I hate to break it to you, but in 2025, these quarterbacks can throw on the run like we've never seen before. So if you don't bring him down, there's a good chance it doesn't matter if you force him out of the pocket. He's going to find somebody to throw to, or at the very least, throw it away. Or at this point in the year, at this point in football, he's just going to take off and run and maybe get another 5-6 yards. And I feel like that's been the issue for the Giants. They never have a guy spying the quarterback, and the quarterback, when he evades the pressure, is able to just take off and get those 8, 9, 10 plus yards and pick up first downs. So, how do I think Mike Kafka did in his debut? That's another question to be answered. I think, it's difficult, especially when you're at the game. You don't get to see all the angles of certain replays. They don't show you everything in-house. I thought it was a bit questionable to throw the challenge flag that early on in the game and then not to challenge the other play later on with the potential incomplete pass that I believe made it 4th and short instead of a first down. So besides that, I thought offensively, I liked what I saw. They ran a couple jet sweeps. I liked Jameis under center. They let him throw. But again, then they also figured out on those second down looks, they figured out something in the run game, and they stuck with it, and it worked. So they were able to exploit that area of Green Bay's defense, and I thought it was smart of them to stick with it. And again, I can't blame Mike Kafka for Jalen Hyatt running the wrong route, stopping the route, whatever you want to say about Jalen Hyatt and his execution of that play, whether he stopped running or whether he ran the wrong route. It doesn't matter. He screwed up. He made a mistake, and you can't really blame the coach on that. And I'm not saying it would have been a touchdown, but maybe it's an incompletion. Hyatt bats the ball down, or maybe he comes down with it, scores a touchdown. Maybe the defender makes a play on it, bats it down. Now you got 4th and 6, and you have another play with 35 seconds left in the game, and you're still in it. And again, do I think they end up winning this game? Who am I to say that they could have? But I can't say that they wouldn't. They wouldn't have. They were right in it. They were outplaying Green Bay offensively, and the defense just couldn't get it done in the end. And Jalen Hyatt just couldn't get it done in the end. And that's what it comes down to. So again, I would be surprised if Jalen Hyatt is here next year. Really would be. And I don't think he should be. Some other news that came out post-game, and again, when you're at the game, you don't really notice these things, but Abdul Carter was not on the field for the entire first drive of the Packers offensively. There were a couple comments out about that. Mike Kafka said that it was a coach's decision and that he would keep the rest in-house on that matter. And then on Twitter, per Ryan Dunleavy, Abdul Carter said that he made a mistake that was detrimental to the team, and that's why he didn't start. End quote. So is he missing practices, or excuse me, is he missing meetings? Is he late to meetings? Like what's going on over there? We're not really sure about Abdul Carter, but it is a bit questionable as to see why he's not out there. So something on the first drive. So something must be going on in house with Abdul Carter. Hopefully they figure that out. And whatever he did that was detrimental to the team, hopefully that is solved and hopefully that is resolved. That's a guy that they need to build the future with. That's a guy they need out there on big third downs. Um, it ended up working for the Giants in the end. They forced a punt, but on that opening drive, the Packers had a 3rd and 11 at the Giants' 49-yard line. So that's a big third down. They convert that, and there's a good chance that the Packers get points, or at least put themselves in field goal position. And again, they ended up throwing an incompletion to Daubs. I believe he dropped that ball. That was one of his many drops. So the Giants might have caught a break there anyway, but not seeing Abdul Carter out there on a big 3rd and 11, up 7-0 in a football game in the first quarter, is definitely a bit questionable. So on the topic of the defense, per Connor Hughes of SNY, he's the NFL reporter on SNY, he covers the Jets and the Giants. He came out after the game and reported on Twitter saying that it seems like, this is quote, "It seems like another change is coming for the Giants on Monday. I'm not sure how you stick with Shane Bowen any longer." End quote. So based on that tweet, maybe we get another firing tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure. I did think that Brian Daboll was going to be the coach for the remainder of the season, but obviously I was wrong on that. They fired him the day after the Bears game, so maybe this is the final straw for John Mara with this defense. And Shane Bowen, maybe he's gone tomorrow. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think every Giants fan wouldn't be opposed to it. And I think the writing is on the wall for Shane Bowen. So whether you do it now, whether you do it at the end of the season, I think he's gone either way. And I think you use the same logic you do for Brian Daboll's firing, and you promote somebody on the staff and see if they can get the job done. Because at this point, what do you have to lose? Shane Bowen is going out there and he is losing you football games. The way he coaches, the way his players are producing, they find ways to lose these games. So I don't see the harm in trying to change something up there. And so I will refer to Connor Hughes for one more piece of information. This coming out around 2 o'clock in the afternoon today. He tweeted, "Among the reasons Shane Bowen wasn't looped in with the Brian Daboll firing on Monday, I was told," so Connor, meaning Connor, was because the Giants want Mike Kafka to make staffing decisions. He was the OC before. He needed to familiarize himself with the defensive staff, then decide if a change needed to be made and who would replace Bowen. That change might be coming on Monday if things don't turn around here. Dismal effort, in parentheses, again, from Giants defense." And again, this was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so an hour into the game. And now we sit here post game and we see them choke another fourth quarter lead. And from what Connor Hughes is saying on Twitter, it was because Mike Kafka wanted to get himself familiarized with the defensive staff, as he was an OC, only working with the offensive staff. And now maybe a change is made after today's loss tomorrow afternoon at some point. And I don't think it should shock any Giants fans. I don't think it should shock anyone in that building. Again, the writing is on the wall. Shane Bowen needs to go. But at the same time, these players need to produce. The secondary is injury riddled. There's no doubt about that. But the play to Savion Williams today, for me, was the icing on the cake when it comes to players just needing to execute. The secondary did their job, and the big time, quote unquote, pass rush did not. And Jordan Love made him pay. And that was the ballgame right then and there. You force a punt on that, or you force a 4th and long on that play, and you get them to turn it over on downs. Now Jameis Winston has the ball, and they can go down the field and potentially extend their lead, right? With how they were running the football as well. Burn the clock, move the football down the field, play field position. But no, Savion Williams gets the 33-yard catch, and the rest is history. The one other thing I wanted to touch on too, Deonte Banks. I like picking on him. He's fun to pick on, that's for sure. He just continues to create moments for all of us Giants fans to look at and just go, how do you just give that up? At this point, it's just clockwork with him. The first touchdown pass to Christian Kirk that cut the Giants lead to 7-6 after the Packers missed the extra point. It was a hurried play, to be honest. Malik Willis was running around back there and somehow found Christian Watson. And lo and behold, Deonte Banks is in coverage and just finds a way to give that up to him. Gives up the touchdown. If I'm not mistaken, on that play, it was as if he was standing still in the end zone, not anticipating a throw to his guy, Christian Watson, And then the throw came his way, and he looked all surprised the ball was coming to him, and he just reacted way too late to it. Oh boy! And just seeing this too. I'll put the video in here. Alex Wilson posted this. It just another just awful effort too from Deonte Banks tackling wise. It's just at this point, this is the play. This is the touchdown from Emmanuel Wilson that gives the Packers the lead in the second quarter, 13-7, and just unacceptable effort from Deonte Banks on this play. You have to make the tackle. Force them to do another play. Line up and try and punch it in. You don't know what's going to happen. We've all seen crazy things happen on the goal line. Force them to make another play. But no, he wants to let him just waltz into the end zone and go sit in the bench. Fine by me. Get rid of this guy, please. And you watch the Deonte Banks coverage on that Watson touchdown. It was good coverage, but the issue I'm having is that at some point in the play, he just stopped running, stopped like moving his feet, and the ball's thrown, and he's not looking behind him. He can't see when Malik Willis is getting ready to throw, and then the ball appears, and he just looks all surprised because he can't see when the ball's being thrown. And he tries to knock it out of his hands, but he couldn't, was not successful in doing that. So just a lot of mistakes today from Deonte Banks on that front, and it's just been a continued cycle of mistakes and low effort plays between him, Hyatt, and Shane Bowen, and hopefully Joe Shane. All need to go. I'm calling for all of their jobs, even though I know the quotes on Joe Shane, and I know he's going to lead the head coaching search for next year. I firmly believe these guys got to go. They have to go. There's no way around it. Giants fall to 2-9, 27-20 the final. Green Bay takes this one. For the Giants next week, they'll take on the Detroit Lions at the Lions. And no, it will not be a Thanksgiving game. They will play next Sunday on the 23rd. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff. Hopefully Jackson Dart can play. That would be nice. But I was also not discouraged with what I saw from Jameis Winston. And if he has to suit up again, I'm confident that the offense will look just fine. So that'll wrap things up here for the Giants-Packers breakdown video. Our first here on the Allen Hour. Hopefully next week against the Lions, it's a bit of a better game for the Giants. Hopefully it's a win, but that will do it here. 27-20 the final. The Packers get the win, improving to 6-3-1 on the season. The Giants falling to 2-9. This was the Jameis Winston debut game. He is 0-1 as the starter for the New York Giants. Make sure to stay tuned for our videos coming out this week. Don't want to miss that. Allen's key picks coming out on next Friday as well. We have a couple things lined up this week, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell so you're notified when I post here on YouTube so you don't miss any Allen Hour content, and enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.